Welcome to Central News. I'm Wayne Douglas. In today's news, Katikati Heritage Museum held a public meeting on Monday to explain to Western Bay ratepayers its financial position. Either it receives council funding or it closes. Museum manager Paula Gaelic is asking for $65,000 from the Western Bay of Plenty District Council's 2014-15 draft annual plan to cover the museum's mortgage and interest payments for 12 months. She says it's crunch time. Without funding, the museum will be gone. Paula says people need to realise the museum is the only one in the Bay and holds hundreds of items relating to Katikati's Ulster Irish settlement, the only one worldwide. A teenage motocross rider is in Waikato Hospital with spinal injuries following a crash on a trail ride in the Wainui Forest, one of two accidents in the area during the weekend. Taupo-based Greenlee rescue helicopter airlifted the 13-year-old boy from the forest east of Taupo on Sunday. He suffered spinal injuries and concussion after falling onto his head. Greenlee Rescue Helicopter base manager Nat Every says the fall from the bike caused his helmet to split open. Previously on Saturday, the rescue helicopter made its first trip to the area after a 47-year-old man also fell from his motorbike while on the trail. The National Jazz Festival is on this weekend and is set not to disappoint with a good range of local, national and international acts appearing. Central News caught up with Tracy and Denny at Creative Tauranga to tell us their pick for the event.
Ooh, what do you pick?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Sisters of Swing, Midge Marsden, always a popular,
Yep.
the historic Jazz Village, there's the Downtown Carnival, and there's Anisha O'Day.
Hurricane Party.
Hurricane Party at Moopec. I'm going to go this year.
Yeah.
Haven't been before, but I've heard it's a blast. And one that intrigues me at the moment is Miho Wada. Now, she's described as Japanese-born New Zealand musician, and she's a punk ninja flautist, which means she plays a flute. And I'm quite intrigued by the whole thing, so I think I'm going to have to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot on. I think there's a taste of something for everyone.
Yep.
The city will be alive, the village will be alive, and really, you know, just go along and check it out.
Another dog attack on a child in the Bay of Plenty has prompted Omanawa resident Carol Gunn to take action. Carol, a long-standing dog owner, is appealing to primary schools to let her teach children how to appropriately behave around dogs. And having taught dog safety in the region for years, Carol is stepping up her canine campaign after a 3-year-old boy was bitten by a pit bull in Matapihi last week. The toddler was with his parents visiting relatives at the property when a male pit bull cross bit him on the face. He was taken to Tauranga Hospital with moderate injuries. Carol is offering to speak to primary school students for free and is appealing to school staff to get in touch. And in sport tonight, aspiring tennis players had the opportunity to learn some tips from one of the best on Sunday as high-profile New Zealand tennis star Marina Irakovic visited one Mount Maunganui club. Mount Maunganui Tennis Club's 120 under-18 members won the chance to have Marina grace their courts for part of the day as part of the Wilson Balls and Right Sports sponsored promotion. Marina, aged 26, is currently competing on the Women's Tennis Association Tour and Grand Slam events. Her promotional visit coincided with a 2-week break in New Zealand. The Croatian-born professional has a career-high WTA ranking of world number 39 for singles and number 25 for doubles. She is the only Kiwi in the top 100 of the WTA and Association of Tennis Professionals. And Tauranga Sports are proving they are the team to beat in the Bay Fair Bay-wide Premier Club Rugby competition, Battle of the Bridge, after beating Tapuna 22-6 at Tauranga Domain on the weekend. The biggest win of the day went to Opotiki's Premier Development team, which nabbed an impressive 96-5 win against Whakarewarewa at Princess Street Reserve. And taking a look at the marine forecast now. Firstly for Raglan, northeasterlies 25 knots, moderate southwesterly swell developing for a time. Wednesday, high tide at 10:38 a.m. And over the hill to Tauranga now, northeasterlies 15 knots and high tide is at 7:46 a.m. Coming up, we hear more from two top sports coaches and we take a look at new learning. Welcome back to Central News. The Bay of Plenty is well known for its well cared for gardens and talented artists. We talk with the Garden and Art Festival Director John Beach on what to expect at this year's event.
The festival may seem like it's quite far away, but you are already well underway into the planning stages. So whereabouts are you up to?
Full swing into registration at the moment. We're getting all the registrations for all the gardens, and we've got 25% new gardens on the garden trail this year. All the artist registrations are coming in, as well as the sculpture symposium artists, and there's a few art events like Masterclass and Funky Flora Fashion. So we are still taking last minute registrations. It's all about going to print and our printing deadlines, but if there's anyone else out there who's interested in coming to the festival, there's still a little bit of time left.
Can you give us a little bit of a sneak preview of what some of the highlights might be?
Yes, absolutely. It's shaping up to be a really exciting program. We're thrilled to have the Sculpture Symposium here at Mount Maunganui at Mount Drury, and we've got 20 artists competing this time in the symposium, which is great. The other events, such as the Floral Art Awards, coming along really nicely, the Bay of Plenty Floral Art Awards. We've got a wonderful artist from Auckland, Brian Collette, who is specialising in creating life-size sculptures made out of succulents, and they're giant-sized moas and tuataras and that sort of thing, so that's going to be a real highlight. The speaker series is shaping up really well. Stephen Wells, from Australia. He's the Australian Gardener of the Year. He's specialising in horticultural therapy and sensory garden planting.
When and where will you be looking at launching tickets?
The festival this year is actually returning to the lakes. We had a smaller festival back in 2008 at the lakes, and this year is going to be a central hub for the festival. We have a 50 by 20 metre stretch tent going in there, which will house all our events, including all our exhibitions, the workshop and speaker series. We've got a full-on cafe down there as well, where people can take a break through the garden trail and come down and see what we've actually got down at the lakes.
And when are you looking at launching the tickets?
Tickets will go back on sale for the early bird ticket sales September 1st, and they'll go through for about 2 months, and then from November onwards you can get them from anywhere in Tauranga in our outlets.
And so you are taking some last minute registrations for artists?
Absolutely. If there's someone out there still thinking about joining the festival, and I did mention all those different events, please contact me and go to our website, and you'll find all my contact details there. It's not too late to get in.
When can we expect to see the full finalised program?
We'll have an updated website of our full program probably by the 1st of June, so keep checking our website for all details.
You actually have a school program this year. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we're really excited about this, Hilary. It's a school concept garden project that we're having down at the lakes. We've invited 6 local schools from Tauranga around Mount Maunganui to create a garden down at the lakes. And it's really about bringing attention to the learning about gardening and all the different processes of growing your own vegetables through to landscape design. It's a little competition, and it's just really bringing awareness to young kids that gardening can be done at any age.
And for more information on the New Zealand Garden and Art Festival, visit gardenandartfest.co.nz. The Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic continue on their Trans-Tasman League winning run. Anne-Marie spoke with coach Julie Fitzgerald about the team.
Julie Fitzgerald, welcome back to Central News. So you've had a pretty stellar coaching career. You led the New South Wales Swifts to the inaugural Trans-Tasman League win in 2008. You've coached the Australian Diamonds. You've been the head coach at the Australian Institute of Sport, and now you're in charge of Magic. Welcome to New Zealand for starters.
Thank you.
An Aussie in charge of a Kiwi team. It's a first, isn't it, for the Trans-Tasman League?
It is a first, and I feel quite honoured that Netball New Zealand let me come in here and coach a team, and that Magic have welcomed me so much, and everyone in New Zealand has really welcomed me.
Yes, you're one of ours now.
Yes.
But we'll keep you for a little while. We'll definitely keep you to the end of 2015. Have you had to alter your coaching style from Australia to New Zealand?
No, I don't think I have changed it radically. I think the main thing, if I have a style, it's to work out what the most individual strength is of all of your players, and then try and come up with a style that complements them and allows them to play to their own strengths, and hope in all of that you weld together a style that suits the team and brings out the best in the team. So that's the approach that I've had with Magic, and while they may play slightly differently to other teams I've coached, it's based on that theory.
What differences have you noticed between Australia and New Zealand play? Shooting springs to my mind, and also Australia don't really use the triangle around the shooting circle, do they?
I think they use the triangle in attack, but possibly slightly differently. And I think the ball movement in Australia is naturally a little bit quicker. So the triangles are probably a little less obvious in some ways. There are differences in style, but the longer this ANZ Championship goes on, the more I think they're merging. And I mean, if you just look across the 5 New Zealand teams, they play vastly different styles. The Pulse game on Monday played that traditional zone defence against us the entire game, whereas other New Zealand teams are starting to play a lot more one-on-one. So I think all the way across the board, the styles are merging or becoming slightly different.
You have had a stellar coaching career. What would be a highlight so far, if you had to pick one?
I think some of my years with the Swifts and some of the titles that we won there, and then to see some of those players move on and represent their country and grow into such tremendous ambassadors for the sport. You know, people like Liz Ellis and Kath Coxon spring to mind. All of those sort of added up to highlights, but undoubtedly winning in 2008, that first ANZ Championships, was a great moment because, again, we weren't favourites at all. We just lost Liz Ellis and Monia Gerard, and everyone pretty well wrote us off, and to be able to come through and win that first title was a very special moment.
What are your thoughts on New Zealand so far? And the Waikato Bay of Plenty too.
I'm absolutely loving it. I think it's a beautiful part of the country. I've met some really great friends here, inside and outside of netball. I'm really enjoying the lifestyle, and I'm really grateful that I got to come to a place that is entirely different to my environment in Sydney.
Julie, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And the Magic will be looking for another home win at Claudelands Arena Hamilton this weekend as they take on the Northern Mystics. After the break, a first for Waikato University in Tauranga. University of Waikato Tauranga lecturer Nadine Bellum has graduated with her PhD, becoming the first student to have studied from undergraduate to doctorate level entirely at the university in Tauranga. Ms Bellum shares her milestone with Central News.
So you're about to be the first person to study from undergraduate level to doctorate level. How does that feel?
Yeah, so for me personally, it is a big deal. I think probably for the university it's quite a big deal because it does signify, I guess, the developments that they've made on this campus over the last 12 years or so that they've been here. But in terms of being the first, it's not really a big deal because I just think, you know, I was just in the right place at the right time and the right space to do it. So I did it and happened to be the first person. So it's more of a personal big deal rather than a, wow, I was the first sort of thing, yeah.
Your PhD was on a rather interesting topic. Can you tell me about this?
Sure. My intention was to tell the stories of young people who are from low socioeconomic backgrounds and who are gifted, and basically because they are underrepresented in gifted and talented programs in schools. So what I was interested in was a risk and resilience perspective. So poverty or low socioeconomic circumstances are considered to be a risk factor in terms of life outcomes. So, you know, poor educational outcomes, poor health for people living in poverty. Whereas having a gift or a talent or being, you know, high intelligence is considered to be a protective factor. So I was interested in the sort of intersection of those two things and wanted to get the voices of the people who were experiencing those two things rather than other people telling me about them, which so often happens in, you know, education really.
Why did you want to focus on this? Has there been much research in the past on this subject?
There's not been any research done in New Zealand with this particular group of young people. There have been studies done, lots of studies done with gifted and talented young people from different cultural backgrounds, but never specifically about low socioeconomic sort of circumstances. So it's a first for New Zealand. But there's been lots done around the world, lots of international work done in that area. Another reason why I wanted to sort of follow it up was because of my own personal circumstances. So when I was a child, my father died when I was very young. So all of a sudden, you know, we went from a two-parent middle-class sort of household to I guess, I mean, we were never sort of living in poverty as you sort of think about poverty, but Suddenly we were a single income household, and Mum, you know, the challenge was to earn some money but also look after the children, sort of thing. So we struggled a little bit through life, and I was always a high achiever at school, so I knew how our financial sort of circumstances had impacted on what I was able to do or not, and I guess I wanted to find out what other people's stories were. Yeah.
How much of what you went through then pushed you to study this?
Well, I mean, I can think of specific stories through for example, in secondary school, and I wanted to do photography. I loved photography. I wanted to do photography, and that was back in the day when you had the big cameras with the lenses that you changed and everything for the different shots you wanted, rather than the digital type stuff. And a camera like that cost a couple of grand. And so, you know, I knew that if I sort of mentioned that I'd sort of wanted to do that, it would be a massive stress on my mother, so I just didn't even go down that road. Other things like skiing, or, you know, the electives you can take in secondary school or even intermediate school, the choices that I made were based on what was pretty much the cheapest and wouldn't stress my mother out. So I think there's probably you know, children in schools today that do that also, with you know, just sensing that there's tension or stress in the household based on financial circumstances.
Did you find that impacted on your own personal self-esteem or any of the others?
Yeah, I think it did. I think I sort of was a bit of a go-getter as well, so I sort of made the best of what I did anyway, and I was a bit of an all-rounder, so, you know, if one thing didn't sort of work out, I just flipped to the next or the next. So not really for me. I guess, I mean, I think everyone struggles at times with self-esteem, and I think being a high achiever for me was a real confidence booster. So I always felt good about being good at things, you know. So that was really good for me, yeah.
Did you ever kind of find that you had stigma from other children?
Not really, because to be honest with you, you know, when you're growing up in whatever circumstance you're in, it's kind of the norm. So you don't know what you don't know. You know, you sort of don't know what a better life is or what a worse life is. Yeah, no, not really. Well, I guess also you go to school and have a group of friends that are similar sometimes to yourself. You know, you sort of find groups that you connect with. So no, it didn't really impact on me at all, stigma type stuff.
And of course, if you would like to find out more about study options, visit uwt.waikato.ac.nz. Coming up, Waikato Pistons coach Pero Cameron talks about his team's season. Welcome back to Central News. He is regarded as formerly one of the standout players for the New Zealand Tall Blacks, and he is now back where his playing days started as coach of the Waikato Pistons. Anne-Marie caught up with Pero Cameron to talk about the team and its future.
Pero Cameron, it's a privilege to have you in the studio. Welcome to Central News.
Thank you.
2 games into the season, Waikato Pistons have lost one and won one. How are they feeling?
Yeah, not in both games weren't very good performances, but you know, we got across the line on one of the games. But you can't take, you know, games that you lost and didn't play very well back, so we move on to the next one. What
did the team take away from their loss on Friday night against the Bay Hawks?
I think because they're down one of their main guys, that, you know, you just can't take this league for granted, and you have to work, and you still got to show up and play. And it's tough on the road. You know, every team's going to be tough at their home venue.
And do you think that helped against the Super City Rangers on Sunday? Because that was a good win, 85-75.
Yeah, that was a good win. Tough game again. We never really broke away until the last quarter. We managed to put it up to 22, 24 points, and then, you know, they climbed back into the game in the last 3 minutes to cut it to 12-10, but 10 points. But, you know, again, a sloppy finish, but, you know, we're trying to make the team better and better each week.
What are the key areas you're working on at the moment?
A couple of things, defence and rebounding, that get you past the group into the top 4. And I think the other thing is just gelling as a team, because we're all different. We're very young. We have, you know, 2 or 3 experienced players, but it's the race to gel. You know, we need to get wins to go further along into the playoff postseason.
You have got a mix of experience in your team with your younger players and your experienced ones. Who are your key players?
I think our point guard coming out from America, Baltimore's, Corrins, has some experience in the Australian League, and he's young, he's 24, 25, but he's very experienced and he's very loud, and I love it, you know, and he's not shy, and that's what we need. I think he's a key to our team to make the team work. And then we've got a couple other vets, and Akeem Wright and Casey Frank, who pick up the slack, and they're leaders in their own right, and they're not shy to say a few things. And another kid from who's lived in Australia, and he's a Kiwi, Zach Carter. You know, he's come back, he's done some good things too. Exciting game this Sunday at Hamilton Boys High School. These games are electric. The atmosphere at live games is just incredible, isn't it? Yeah, it's good because, you know, the crowd or the fans or supporters can get very close to the court, you know, they're 1, 2, 3 metres away, and, you know, furthest person away is probably 6 metres, so they're very close to the court, and you can hear it and you can be a part of it, you can almost feel it, and it's great for kids and great for families. Pero Cameron there talking with Central News journalist Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Taking a look at the Waikato weather now. Hamilton, your Wednesday, cloudy periods with a chance of late rain, a high of 21 and a low of 14. For Paeroa, cloud increasing, scattered late rain, a high of 22 and a low of 14. For Matamata, there it is again, scattered late rain, northeasterly breezes, a high of 19 and a low of 15. Te Awamutu, late rain with a high of 21 and a low of 14. For Tokoroa, showers with a high of 18 and a low of 14. Taking a look at the Bay of Plenty now, Tauranga, rain at times with northeasterly breezes, a high of 22 and a low of 16. And for Te Puke, showery with 19 and a low of 16. And that's Central News for tonight. Make sure you like us on Facebook and let us know, of course, if there's any news or an event in your community that we can support. Thanks for having us at your place. I'm Wayne Douglas. Pomarie.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.